Ipswich Warlocks beta team have James Gibson on pole position for Heat 6. On the front row with him, Teesside Thunder's Chunky Whinger. Simon, no surnames in Teesside Thunder. Behind him on grid 4, Chris Rowe carries a camera for Stockton Sprinters, and he'll be trying to go round the outside of Atherton Bulls. Mark Copeland into turn 1. Look out for Heat 3 winner Joe Bailey on grid 7, starting for Brentwood Bandits. And Teesside Tigers Steve White on his bumper on grid 9. Well, we're gridded and ready to roll here. Winding it up to the start line, green flag at the ready, and we're racing on board with Chris Rowe. Down to turn 1, it's James Gibson for Ipswich Warlocks beta team in the lead. Teesside Thunder trying to get in line, and they've got in third place behind Mark Copeland for Atherton Bulls. It's Dan Smith in fourth, there's contact in the midfield, and Jamie Geld has been spat out the side for Pontefract Pirates. Lee Puttock has moved Lyd Clark Carts up to fourth place, and he's now chasing after Teesside Thunder. Chris Rowe has fallen back off his start and runs in ninth place behind Birmingham Wheels, Chris Hackworth. Dan Smith's made a mistake, he's on the outside in a hairpin 3 and is going backwards. He's been overtaken by Joe Bailey and Chris Hackworth, and he's now trying to hold off Jessica Page for Teesside Angry Birds. Here comes Joe Bailey down the inside of Teesside Thunder. That position is his, and he's through to fourth place. Hackworth now next up to try and put a move on Teesside Thunder. Will he strike down a hairpin 1? Bailey down the inside of Puttock. Teesside Thunder trying to come back at him. But Puttock's got the inside, and this will work for Hackworth, who's looking to the inside. And Steve White from Teesside Tigers is there with him. Down to the big bend, and Hackworth drafts past Lyd Clark Carts and Teesside Thunder. Thunder are isolated on the outside, and White is through. White now looking down the inside of Lee Puttock, and he's through. Teesside Tigers up to 5th. Puttock coming straight back at him, but the door is closed. Oldbury Dragons runs wide with Teesside Thunder, and the Teesside Angry Birds are through to 7th place with Simon McWilliams from Lakeside Lions on her bumper. And here comes Jessica down the inside of Lee Puttock, and she's through, but she's run wide, and Puttock's up the inside in the S's. It's a bit of a squeeze over the infamous Teesside curbs. Oh, and she's lost it, and she's collected Teesside Thunder and Cameron McLean from 3 legs. Elliot Cotton picking up the pieces down the inside of Leicester Alley Cats, and Thunder's going backwards. Back up front, Chris Hackworth is closing in on Joe Bailey from Brentwood, and he's down the inside. He goes a long way in, but it's going to give him the inside for hairpin 4, and Hackworth is up to 4th. Atherton Bulls Mark Copeland pokes his nose in. Joe Bailey not impressed. Steve White trying to tow through with him. Bailey back to 3rd. Steve White up to 4th place. Back in the midfield, Leicester Alley Cats Chris Surridge trying to hold off Shane Kelly from Team Sport. They're leaning in on each other. Oh, it's getting all a bit busy. And White's down the inside of Bailey, and he goes through to 3rd. Atherton Bulls Mark Copeland trying to force it through as well. Bailey having none of it. And it's Simon McWilliams from Lakeside Lions picking up the pieces. And down to South Bank Bend. Oh, it's all kicking off once again in the elite karting lead. Oh, and Kelly's determined to pass Chris Surridge, whatever the price. Battle for 4th place behind Steve White. Bailey going to work on Simon McWilliams, conscious of Mark Copeland for Atherton Bulls behind. Chris Hackworth for Birmingham Wheels now trying to go round the outside of James Gibson. Down to turn 1, it's not going to work. Gibson keeps it tidy, and he continues to lead into the S's. Is Hackworth going to line him up for hairpin 1? Well, he was looking down the inside, going in. Back to the Team Sport Leicester battle. Surridge looking down the inside once again, can't get it done. In the background, Chris Hackworth has overtaken James Gibson for the lead. Ben Highland demotes Chris Surridge, and James Purberty is coming through in the other Leicester team. And Steve White's already moved on to Gibson, and he's through to 2nd in a hairpin 3. Gibson gives it up easy. He'll have to shape up, or Simon McWilliams and Joe Bailey will be through in no time at all. Over start finish. Bailey looking for a way past McWilliams, but Lakeside are a much tougher nut to crack. Here comes Lee Puttock over the curbs. 2 wheels on the grass. Oh, and Mark Copeland spins out on the exit. Ben Highland shaping up to have a crack at Shane Kelly this time. Down the inside of hairpin 1, Kelly runs wide. That'll invite in Surridge and Perbody. Elliot Cotton's got past Lee Puddock, and here comes Cameron McLean. So the Throttle Warriors and 3 Legs making progress now. Puddock trying to fight back. McLean gives him room on the inside of hairpin 4. Once again, he cleverly gives himself enough room and keeps his revs up. And Dan Smith for Oldbury Dragons moves through. Up to 8th place for the Oldbury Dragons now. Back up front, Steve White running down Chris Hackworth. It's game on at the front here. We've got a battle on for the lead. And here comes Steve White down a hairpin 1. Side by side. Hackworth clever enough to know the road goes in his favour into hairpin 2. And there's a crisscross on for White though. Now it's a drag race down the South Bank bend. And White's conscious of Joe Bailey in 3rd. Elliot Cotton's got past Chris Rowe for 9th place. And the Stockton sprinters are under pressure from 3 Legs, Cameron McLean. Hackworth under pressure up front though. Steve White straight lining it to hairpin 4. Up the inside. How much room is he going to give Hackworth? He does indeed give him room. Conscious of Joe Bailey in 3rd. And the crapshoot that a 3-way dice for victory is in the Elite Karting League. He'd like to keep it mano a mano with Hackworth. Shane Kelly still holding off Ben Highland. The Leicester Alley Cap teams. Tigers down the inside. White tries again. He's going to run Hackworth out wide to make sure he gets the lead into hairpin 2. And look at Joe Bailey in the background. Hackworth's got the momentum. White's got the high ground and goes narrow into the big bend to hold him off. Hackworth's going to have to go the long way round. And Joe Bailey is on his bumper. Joe Bailey looking for second. Down the inside of Birmingham Wheels. There's heavy contact. And Bailey's going to give him the position back. And look at the advantage that's given Steve White over start finish. It's 3, 4, 5 car lengths. 2 laps from the finish. That could be a winning margin for Teesside Tigers. And Hackworth's under pressure from Joe Bailey into turn 1. Bailey up the inside and into the S's. Hackworth's got to give ground. And Simon McWilliams moves on to his bumper. Bailey looking to hold off Chris Hackworth into hairpin 1. Will Hackworth dive inside a hairpin 2? No, he won't. He's taking a wide line in for a fast line out. But he's conscious of Simon McWilliams is there. Got to be careful. He's got to time this right. Steve White's got an advantage that I think he's going to carry to the finish. So Bailey takes the wide racing line. Will Hackworth dive inside a hairpin 4? No, he won't. So on to the final lap. Bailey takes a look over his shoulder. Chris Hackworth is closing in. He's on the bumper. Bailey goes narrow into turn 1. Hackworth to take the wide line. It looks like McWilliams is out of this one. And only there to pick up the pieces if it all goes wrong for Bailey and Hackworth. Bailey looks to the inside, but it's only to hold off Birmingham Wheels. Brentwood Bandits runs wide to get a tight line into hairpin 2. This is going to open him up to Chris Hackworth in Birmingham Wheels. He's looking to get the momentum run into South Bank Bend. There's nothing Joe Bailey can do. 2 corners from the finish. He looked to go for the cutback into hairpin 3. McWilliams is there to pick up the pieces. He's got his wheels inside. Simon McWilliams up to 3rd. And that's released Chris Hackworth to finish 2nd. And we know that Simon McWilliams knows how to block. Teesside Tigers take a first win of the day in the shape of Steve White. And down in the pit lane, Gareth Rogers talks to the victorious Teesside Tiger.
Tell us about the race, because I felt that once you'd established that lead, you're probably unaware that a big battle going on behind you. It just gives you that margin.
Yeah, it's the whole racing here today is pretty close, so once you get caught up in a battle, it is really hard to get that break. On the other hand, once you do get it, you're pretty safe in the fact that if they start battling, you do get a bit of a gap in front. So I was a bit nervous once we got to the front, because I knew if we did get a battle, it was going to be tough. But once we did get a break, it was okay. It wasn't safe, but it was okay.
Yeah, I'd agree. It wasn't a big lead, it was sufficient. Finally, Teesside Tigers, tell us about the formation of a sort of racing team here.
Teesside Tigers, obviously this is the first event of hopefully bigger things to come. The Teesside Tigers has been put together by Bob Pope from Teesside. and there's 3 drivers here. We've all pretty experienced amongst us, so hopefully we can keep that going and roll on next year.